Welcome to another edition of Tecman Talks Dynamics. We are back in the CRM world today, and it's that time of year. It seems about 10 minutes since we did this earlier in the year, but it's the time when Microsoft have announced what is happening with the product. They've Wave 2 release that comes out around about October time normally, and they've given us the first bunch of information about what's going to come out. It's not definitive, things can change, but you've selected a few highlights from that announcement.
Yeah, we'll try and go through the core CRM Wave 2, so sales, customer service, marketing, take those three, and then try and go over some of the Power Platform pieces as well. What is a lot still to go through, some are quite subtle changes and small changes, but quite important changes as well. So should we start with sales?
We might as well. Yeah, I think it's still the one that probably is the headline part of CRM, isn't it? So let's start with sales. So what have you picked out from there that you think's of interest?
So I think there's two that stand out. You've got Sales Accelerator, this concept of Sales Accelerator within CRM. We've got tasks, activities, etc. to do. Sales Accelerator is a way of trying to help define a set of activities to help salespeople be more structured.
Good luck.
I guess in their approach, and they I guess don't forget to drop the ball is one of those going, did I remember to do this with this person or this contact or this prospect or this opportunity, etc. So the idea is that realistically you're able to create a set of tasks that actually link also into Outlook and the whole to-do stuff that comes from Microsoft. And the reality is you can create sequence steps. So, for example, you pre-configure a set of rules that says a lead comes in from a website, comes in to the leads area through a queue or wherever, and in short, it creates a task to say, have a phone call within 2 days of that lead arriving. Then based on that being complete, it says, right now, go do this. And it gets you to a point that it's qualifying them to then progress that opportunity. Now, it's not just off a lead, but the idea is that it's trying to automate some of the process steps and activities to help guide what your day is supposed to be kind of doing as such as a salesperson. So it's trying to help drive you to be more efficient, I guess is the way to put it. And so that's from a user perspective, but the design of it is like it's like a bit like Visio. You kind of in this same of Sales Accelerator, you start at the top, you go, what happens if, and then you kind of flow charting it down. So again, it feels, looking at the documentation, it's going to be quite easy to configure as well in the updates.
Which is good. I think the links to Microsoft to do is quite useful. I used to do a lot because if you're on a phone call or somebody asks you to do something, it's very easy to create a to-do within a few seconds, rather than if I did it within maybe CRM, you've got to go in, you've got to find the opportunity or the record, and so I love that tool. I wouldn't put everything in there, but it's interesting that Microsoft are allowing tasks from other apps now, Dynamics apps, to come into to.
And I think the to-do stuff, I think we're starting to see more Microsoft's desire to want to integrate to-do, because obviously to-do goes into Outlook as well. And historically, all tasks from CRM have gone into Outlook like you see a normal task in Outlook. So with to-do kind of making a bigger play in that person's list of tasks to get done, trying to make them all link together clearly makes some sense. So hopefully that will be nice and smooth when it evolves and we see the updates in I think the general availability is due for October, so it is one of those ones that will come quite early in Wave 2 releases.
Okay. The second one you'd mentioned a seller dashboard.
So those that have known CRM for a long time, you've got your views, you've got your system dashboards, etc. They haven't really fundamentally changed. We had interactive dashboards turn up a little while ago. But not really a fact else. What Microsoft is seemingly starting to do now, as opposed to really changing how the core dashboards are working, they're actually bringing more reporting tools and mechanisms in addition to what's there, not enhancing what's there as such. Yeah. So we had that with the deal manager dashboard that's been about now and released for a little while.
Which I always think seems to sit more at the management level. You can see a picture of all the deals, which is great, rather than to interrogate a salesperson.
It is, and the idea is you're setting metrics at deal manager dashboard as such. The idea now is that the new one that they're planning to bring out in Wave 2 is the seller dashboard. So it's more about me as an individual. And it's trying to give me as an individual a summarised view collectively in one place across accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, and my interactions with the businesses I work with on a regular basis, or the people that I work with on a regular basis. So it's designed to be, again, in a dashboard that's a single page, but it's going to be separate to the main dashboards or the native dashboards that we've always been used to. So again, trying to give more insight to me as an individual, what I'm doing, what I'm behind on, what I need to do better on, or where I'm doing well, where my engagements are good with customers, etc. So it's one of those where we talk about AI with Microsoft, and they're looking at data and giving you insights of what to do. I think this is a step in the direction of trying to give some dashboards or reports or insights front and centre, opposed to what used to be just a relationship assistant that appeared on a form on an account going, you have an opportunity closing soon for this particular business. So again, I think it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, Power BI has been used a lot as well, and I'll come on to Power BI in the Power Platform updates. So it's trying to find that balance now of what do I use when it comes to reporting in CRM. Do I use my native dashboards and charts and pie charts and that kind of stuff? Do I have lists in my dashboards? Do I just have system views and the updates that have come with that, and how they're trying to make the old advanced finds go away and make it easier front and centre? Do I look at Deal Manager? Do I look at this new seller dashboard? Do I look at Power BI? Because the standard connectors from CRM into Power BI. So I think the key thing is it's going to be an interesting challenge for people like us as a partner to go to our customers and go, actually, what's your requirement? What are you looking to achieve from a dashboard report point of view, and what tool should you use? Power BI is always great at the helicopter view. CRM natively has always been good at to an extent, the real-time here and now, what's going on, what do I quickly want to look at, even as a user kind of point of view. But it's nice to see that even with Microsoft and Power BI, they're still knowing that actually there's still value in the dashboards inside of CRM that people want to use. Yeah. And hopefully that will come December, I think, is the plan. So a little bit halfway through the kind of the Wave 2 set of releases. So we'll see where that comes out, but I can definitely see that being used internally for Tecman. That's for
sure. I like the out-of-the-box dashboards, because sometimes I think you sit down and decide what you want for reporting, and it's quite difficult to know what you want on there. You've got a few key things that you know you need, but when Microsoft have designed one, and all the research and background and the experience they've got with hundreds, millions of customers, it's quite nice when they generate something you think, oh, actually I'd never thought of displaying it like that, or tracking that metric, or targeting those. It gives you a bit of inspiration of what you can do.
And I think that's it's all we get asked a few times from customers. We want to know, we've got these systems. Microsoft, their corporate ways of showcasing their tools is very pleasing dashboards and reports and stuff like that, which management level, if that's what I see and I don't need to look at the detail underneath it, great, it gives me what I need. But it's a case of what's the art of the possible. And you've got to get your data right, of course, inside of core CRM or any application, but Microsoft giving you more kind of ideas and ways of slicing your data, it does help, because sometimes when it comes to reporting, you're always starting from a blank canvas to an extent.
Okay. So the next one, probably as we wrap up with sales, but I think this probably goes across all the areas we're going to talk about today, is the continued evolution of an improvement of what you can do with Teams and Dynamics 365.
Yeah, this isn't, like you say, this isn't sales specific. this is across sales, customer service, etc. Of the core CRM package. And we had, I think it was last year now, where Microsoft bought out Teams integration inside of CRM. You could hit your top right-hand corner and click your kind of Teams chat message, and all of a sudden you could then go and create a new message regarding that particular record that you were on. So that particular case, as an example, that you're on, and you want to then say, could you just speak to someone internally, could you give a quick cast over this and give me your thoughts on this, please? And it would give them a hyperlink in the Teams message that would appear on their normal kind of Teams desktop. And then you'd be able to kind of collaborate and chatter out that record without trying to say, can you go and look at and try and copy and paste the URL. It's kind of quicker. One of the challenges one of the pitfalls initially is that's great. The chat is accessible. It's a hidden chat. You can go find them and you can go relook at those chats inside of CRM. But that chat against that particular case record or that particular record that you're in CRM, it doesn't save it. It doesn't go into that timeline. So the idea is that when did I last have a chat with somebody about this? Oh, well, I spoke to you on Teams. Well, hopefully you would hope that case record would have that chat inside of it. Wave 2, the chats are now going to be embedded inside of the timeline. So it's going to be shown as a proper activity as we've always wanted. So again, I think that's a really good step forward in that. I think it was a well done Microsoft for bringing Teams into CRM, but actually you've missed a fundamental gap here compared to how the timeline works. So
the amount of times we use Teams these days for communication, it's more than email for me. So internally, when we're talking to each other, so you want that tracked down on.
And I think the idea as well is within Teams and CRM and like the customer service workspace and stuff like that. What they're also trying to do is trying to get manage some tasks as well from within Teams and within CRM and make it more collaborative. And we're planning to see, and this is more probably early 2023 functionality that's coming out, we're going to start to see even more kind of collaboration and shared working spaces for CRM activities within Teams, which then does lend itself to the whole, we heard last year that Microsoft want to make dynamic CRM apps and Business Central we've heard as well, more accessible within Teams to the wider business that don't necessarily have a license for CRM, and you can't justify giving them a license because they very, very ad hoc would go into the system. Now, certain information, we're going to be able to expose certain levels of information inside of Teams that you don't need a CRM license for. You've just got your Office 365 license. Yeah. So again, that's another way of trying to bring the ecosystem together of Microsoft, which again is becoming pretty much unrivaled compared to our competitors. Indeed.
And I think that links nicely into when we move into customer service, the first area you've highlighted, and when I was looking at some of this after you highlight them, this one I really think stands out as a really useful tool for our business as a support desk. So this is on customer service, and it was something they've termed as swarming, which is an intriguing name.
Yeah, so swarms, they first released swarms a little while ago. The idea was very much off a case as an example. You've got this complex case and it needs more than just the person that's owning the case to get involved. And typically we might go and reassign a case to somebody and it gets reassigned to somebody else, and then somebody else comes in and hovers over the shoulder and says, yeah, this is what we do and stuff like that. But there's no history of really who you spoke with and who you're bringing into that conversation. Swarms is very much a case of trying to collaborate together across multiple people to deal with a problem. Yeah. The idea now is they're trying to bring enhancements to kind of customer support swarming as such, to deal with these complex issues. And the idea is that, again, they want to enable the swarm area, if you call it like a collaboration area. What's called a whiteboard is a bit more structured than that, but the idea is that processes, tasks, etc. can be in this area for this particular case that multiple people can work on. So not only is that available inside of CRM if the users are CRM, but if you have to bring in people that are outside of the core CRM day-to-day use, and you say, well, they use Teams, bring them into the kind of the Teams area and use a swarm area inside of Teams and collaborate there together. And again, you put all your notes, you put you manage your task, etc., and what everybody's been working on, and hopefully that collaboration in one central place allows you to deal with that case quickly and not miss a trick either, because someone said, oh, they passing comment, they told me how to. They can just put in the swarm as such of how to deal with it as such. So it's really, really cool kind of stuff. Again, it's more the complex issues, challenges, problems, but every business has it. We have it with when customers come to us with this piece of development has gone a little bit awry, which it's software, can happen. And then you're having to get kind of some senior developers involved, the original project team involved, and go, well, what's going on? And what was it meant to do, and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got the support consultant. So again, customers can have it around a product problem that they've then got to get the engineering team back involved and go, well, do we need to go and change something? And does it then become a non-conformance or whatever? So again, really cool from a complex issue management kind of piece.
Yeah, I really like that one. I thought it was really, really interesting, and probably because we've all done our time on the support desk here at Tecman, that it would have been really useful. And as you said, it gives you that history and available to go back and look at who helped and the resource from our point of view who actually had to come into this to solve this problem. So it's useful. Okay, and following on with that, I guess we come on to something else from a support calls, which is SLAs, service level agreements. We build into contracts. So we have to resolve solutions or deal with problems in a timely manner that's contractually agreed. What have they added? Because they've been around for a while in CRM, what have they added this time?
They have, and then they updated it. They made some of the old SLA functionality kind of deprecated, and I think the deadline officially that the old functionality of SLAs gets turned off this October, and then you just got to be onto the latest kind of functionality that's in the background around SLAs. But what they've done in addition to this now is SLAs that they've introducing this concept of active and on hold durations within SLAs. So the idea is that an active duration shows the business hours that you set as a business inside of CRM. Your SLAs will run and be on during those active business hours, opposed to a SLA that's running, but actually I'm not at work, nobody's at work, so it's an active SLA, it's ticking along, but no one's there to be able to work on it. So the idea is that we can manage and understand and report on active SLA hours, and then we've got on hold, and there might be instances where actually you've passed it back to the customer or somebody else where you deem that actually I'm not going to be penalised for that SLA because it's not with me. I can't actively work on it at this moment in time, so I'm going to put it on hold. And then it stops the timer as an example. And then from that point, CRM might still tag and track how long the case has been open from start to finish, but the actual KPI, the target itself, you put it on hold because it's been given to a third party to do it back to the customer to deal with. So the idea is now you can actually manage and put that SLA on hold and be able to report of how long cases with SLAs have been set up on hold and how long they've been active, etc. So it's another level of reporting around SLA as opposed to it just being this is my list. Sounds crude, it's a bit more involved than this, but my SLA's on, my SLA's done, my SLA's succeeded, my SLA's not succeeded, it's cancelled or whatever. So it's allowing people that run a lot of targets around their customer service, this is giving more accuracy to how the team are actually working, opposed to the team going back at you going, well, that's not a true representation because actually we weren't available or we passed it back to the customer for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So again, a nice little touch, I think.
I think it's a good improvement because, as you said, once you're on SLAs, it's a big thing. If you've promised a customer something, and as the organisation that has to do that, it's good to have that extra information to see that we've stopped the clock for a reason.
Yeah.
And again, if there are people or things that are happening where it's falling down the gaps, you can see where. So you can never. That's not a bad thing at all. So I think if you're using SLAs, it's definitely worth having a look at if you can use these new functionalities.
Yeah.
Okay. Voice support. So this is on the Omnichannel stuff.
Yeah. So it's obviously links into like Power virtual agents and stuff like that is what some of the omnichannel functionality uses. We've known for a while Omnichannel can connect to things like Twitter, Facebook, can work with SMS and other tools.
So this is just to push Omnichannel. Is this pushing information out? You talked about like the social side of things there. That
it's more about taking information in.
Okay. So it's looking at certain Twitter accounts or hashtags or something like that.
I've got a problem. I'm going to send a DM to Twitter. I'm going to send a DM to Facebook. I'm going to go on the website and start a chat on the chat function. Yeah. And then it's going to come in, and the omnichannel functionality allows that basically those messages to go directly into CRM, go into the timeline, raise a case, deal with a problem, that kind of stuff. So it was doing kind of very much I'm typing something, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm typing into a chat. I'm typing on Twitter. I'm typing on Facebook. I'm typing on a SMS or whatever. The idea, what it didn't have is the voice support. Now, the voice support has come, but not everywhere. So the idea is the best way to describe it, you pick up the phone, you call the support number to the bank or somebody, and it's a bot that answers you to start off with, then asks you for your name, asks you to validate who you are, that kind of information, before you then get passed to a human. So they've already got that information of validation already and roughly what your call's about. Yeah. Pick up the phone to your TV, broadband, sports package provider, what are you calling about today, etc. And the idea is that Omnichannel now supports that. So you can link that into your team's kind of business voice kind of functionality, or you've got the ability to link it in through your own voice over IP system if you don't use Microsoft for your phone system. The idea is you've got to connect it through like Azure voice services to kind of make it connect to your voice over IP system. Got launched in America first, UK hasn't been available. But the idea is that this kind of bot in the voice is now going to be available from October in the UK, which is great. Makes probably the omni-channel piece more complete, especially if you're running a support desk that you have phone calls as well as just emails and social media coming in, and people want the choice, and you want to be as efficient of how to manage those calls coming in. And then into managing those calls, the two things that we're used to in day-to-day lives is the voicemail. Sometimes you leave a voicemail for the business that you want to contact, and then they'll give you a call back. That voicemail will now land inside of Omnichannel, land inside of CRM, and allow someone then to go and follow up on it. So that voicemail goes and makes it available. Also is the callback. How many times do we sit in queues? You are in position 12. You have 30 minutes to go. And you've got no choice but to stick it out for 30 minutes. But there's also some businesses that sit there going, we are quite busy at this moment in time. Click 1 if you would like us to call you back when you are next in the queue. Yeah. Clearly, you are always going to offer, call me back, please, when you're ready. That is now going to be supported.
Which is pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool. The other, we haven't got time to go into the whole voice kind of support functionality, but it will record it. It will keep, you get an amount of storage that you can keep your calls for. It will give you like sentiment analysis. It'll try and pick up tasks. It'll try and give you the transcript and for the voice recording as well to put into CRM. If you have a lot of phone calls from a support desk, and that's what you do as a key engagement, then
sounds like a podcast episode.
Yeah, you pay a premium for this, but I think it's wicked.
Okay. Well, put it on the list, and there's something to talk about in more detail in another Tecman Talks Dynamics. Okay, carrying on with what's coming in this release, moving on to the marketing side of things, and you've listed a few here, there's 3 or 4, but so we're looking at another out-of-the-box analytics dashboard around B2B, business.
Yeah, so the dashboards that come out of the marketing app, as standard, are a bit poor, I think. There's some Power BI template dashboards that you can turn on and connect into, but that means a Power BI license. What they're trying to do now is again give you a bit more out of the box. So plans at the end of the year, I think it's December, that it's going to be general availability. There's going to be a new B2B analytics kind of dashboard that tells you about your journeys, your interactions, etc. So it's a bit more insight that's readily available for what it is that you're working with the marketing app for. So probably a little bit long time coming. I think kind of horse bolted a little bit. I think Microsoft launched the product, got a lot of the core functionality working, and then reporting's kind of then coming in, and that's my opinion. They're now starting to put more effort, I think, into the marketing reporting elements to the tool. So that's a welcome addition in my opinion. The other piece is the lead capture forms. So we've got marketing forms where you can put a form on a website, on a landing page, that kind of stuff to put information in. They're now creating something called lead capture forms. So it's a bit more like the contact us forms is what I'm kind of understanding at this moment in time. And you want someone to get contact you back and that kind of stuff. So there's a desire to have an engagement as such, not just I want to download a white paper or an ebook or a fact sheet. The idea is that it's going to help with kind of data validation around how that data comes into the system, and make those forms a bit more intuitive and more suited to kind of the lead process, trying to start that sales process as best as you can, opposed to just a standard marketing form which is a blank canvas. So still got a bit of detail to stick around that. If I'm honest, it feels that I got to see it before you make a full judgment, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. From kind of Microsoft are making a big play about the start to the end of the sales process and trying to track how it comes in, to how you land it, to how you win it, and the timescales from start to finish. I think this is just supporting Microsoft's way to really get that better picture of the end to end of the sales process. Yeah. Then the final one, we've talked about real-time marketing before. I'm sure it was talked about on Wave 1. We're starting to use some of that real-time marketing with our customers now, which it's like behavior based. When this happens in the system, when this contact has this set of criteria against it, send them this information. Moments-based marketing has been discussed or mentioned in Wave 2 release. And it's kind of an evolution on top of real-time marketing, or with real-time marketing to an extent. So I use it's making it slicker around. Easy example, I've logged in to a site where I can buy something. I've put something in the basket. I haven't checked out. The family caught me and I got sidetracked. I then get an email say, you've still got stuff in your basket. Do you want to check out? But the idea is that Momentspace can also keep doing that as long as your checkout basket is still there for a period until your website says cancel all baskets after 48 hours. And then the idea is that you don't do it first time, it'll send you another one in 3 hours time going, hey, we really want you to check out. Here's 10% off. Use this code. So the idea is that it's trying to follow up, and Moments-based marketing is trying to get you to do something, not just inform you, but get you to actually take an action for it. So again, the other one from another example is that you might have logged in, you can register for an event, and you started to put the information in, but then you stopped, and you can understand that it's part filled in form, never completed. You can then send a message to say, hey, you haven't completed your registration to our event. You need to finish this off. You don't want to miss out. So again, moments-based marketing is with kind of real-time marketing as well, kind of really making sure that you've got your touch points to your customers at the right time.
Yeah.
And I think from our point of view, not just trying to convert sales, but trying to inform and educate customers at the right time is only going to help kind of improve the trust in that relationship as well, opposed to they know they always get a newsletter off us on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or whichever. The idea is if they do something and something gets tagged, then they get a set of communication there and then, and they don't need to wait for somebody in customer services or somebody somewhere else to go and send that information. It's very much on point as such. Okay. So again, marketing, one of those tools where a lot of money clearly has been spent in that area. And it's, like I say, we've talked previously about the cost of it. but it's definitely I definitely like marketing.
Well, me too. It's one of my favourite parts of the project, and one that we use internally a lot. So always interested to see what's coming out. Okay, I think we've already covered probably the final bit that we got on the general CRM stuff, which was this better Teams and Outlook integrations. I think we've touched on that, so I don't think there's any need to go back over that. So let's move on to the Power Platform. And what Microsoft are starting to offer there. We get these lovely phrases like the Dataverse that we know sounds like something out of a Marvel movie, but go on, explain what they're doing with Power Platform and the general.
So I'm going to try and keep this as non-tech high level as I can, because some of the updates that come out are very accustomed, and people that work in it every single day get it and understand it. I'm going to try my best to put this in layman's terms so our customers can kind of understand what actually is coming out and what it's going to mean to them and why it's good.
Well, if this is for end users, and I know some are very technical and very in detail, but let's keep it at that level and see how we go.
So let's start with the general Dataverse, so the general overall kind of platform, the database which holds the data, the tables, underlyingly, and then what you build on top of. So people may have heard of what is called PowerFX, an expression language. What is it? If anyone's ever gone and created Power Apps, Canvas apps, and started to build out at that top bar to start to write out how you want the app to work and the functions in there and the rules in there, that is kind of PowerFX.
So it's a low-code language to build.
Absolutely, it's a low-code.
Simple solution.
Yeah. So the idea is that I used the term previously in what I've just said, but what PowerFX is coming is that they're trying to bring business rules, or they're going to bring PowerFX and business rules together, or enable the functionality. And what does that essentially mean? For those that use CRM or have built model-driven apps, etc., you've got sections to pages. So you've got sections in your page of holding information. You've got tabs at the top of your CRM account form, which might say account details, account management, related opportunities, whichever. And you click on the tabs and it takes you to different areas of that related account. If you've ever had all that information, but for example your accounts have customers and suppliers in it because you do two lots of management, you might have tabs that are more relevant to suppliers. You might have more tabs that are relevant to customers. Yeah. So if the account relation type equals customer, well, you don't want the tabs to show that are supplier related. Over years gone by, you've had to write things like JavaScript to kind of show and hide kind of those functionalities. PowerFX and business rules coming to this expression language is essentially we're going to be able to do kind of setting visibility of tabs, and locking functionality fields, areas, what we would call business rules, where we've historically needed JavaScript, we're going to be able to do, hopefully, when we see it land, of course, we're going to be able to do a lot of that in the PowerFX. And what does that mean? Well, basically it means it's low code. You are using the Power Platform to deliver the solution, not having to go and have different coding knowledge and skill set to go and achieve the result. So again, it's clearly not going to get rid of JavaScript entirely. Of course it's not, but it's another reason to say I'm working within the Power Platform. Gotcha. So again, pretty cool. That I think for those that write business rules in model-driven apps, CRM, or just in the Power Platform in general, I think that's going to be a big bonus to those guys.
And would you class it almost similar to when people used to write quite complex macros within Excel?
Yeah,
it's like the visual.
Yeah, it is. You would as a best comparison, I'd probably say that's fair. Yeah.
So if people are comfortable doing that, they might want to have at least a look and have a little play with PowerFX just to see what it's capable of, and if they might be able to do something. As we know, little knowledge can be dangerous, but it's always good to understand what's achievable with that. Yeah. And I guess the next level up, or well, from a workflow point of view, you then go into Power Automate, which is again part of the Power Platform. Another tool we've got. What have they added?
So in terms of Power Automate, couple. So we've got the OData editor in cloud flows.
So explain OData, because we hear this.
OData it's how you're connecting your flow to get data from a source.
So it's like a protocol that connects different data sources together.
Okay. We've heard a lot over the past year or two about OAuth2, OData, etc., and make it secure ways to get your data from a source location to be able to do something with it and maybe return it back with a result or pass it from one place to another place. Yeah. But the idea is that typically those queries with OData, it's been in syntax, it's been quite technical is the best way of putting it, and you've really got to get your head around what kind of it means. You're trying to find GUIDs, you're trying to find some quite technical under the hood kind of naming conventions and how you would kind of return a value to be able to write your kind of flow, I guess is the best way of putting it. The new editor is essentially trying to allow you to easily from that kind of source with OData pick your field, pick an operator and look at the values to compare. So it's a bit more designed to help be a bit more front-end friendly opposed to being really tech savvy under the hood. I think for those that have used syntax, if you don't use it very often, it takes you a while to get back into it, I guess is the best way of putting it. The idea with the new editor is trying to be a bit more friendly, that you don't have to be working in Power Automate on a really regular basis, I guess. So that's coming in October, according to the general availability. So again, I think that's a really good one. And I think that's not just even for customers and end users. Our team is really happy about that coming down the line as well. Then approvals. So I guess it's a topic. It's been a topic in Business Central. It's a topic in CRM. It's a topic in workflow in general. We know that Business Central, for example, has workflow capability out of the box. Power Automate we've used with Business Central and SaaS to try and enhance what approvals can do, and approving in Outlook, approving in Teams and stuff like that. What's coming now? Multi-level approvals in Power Automate. So the idea is that you can define multiple levels and stages inside of the flow itself. So adding a bit more logic to the flow opposed to maybe having to store a table, lots of logic somewhere else. That kind of flows looking at the transaction or looking at this particular function in the system, this particular record, then looking at somewhere else that's got the levels in it, then going back and running the flow and kind of going, yeah, okay, I'm approving. Yeah. Now I'm saying it's going to have the levels and the stages inside of flow itself. And the idea and a good thing is you then think about history, what happens when it's approved or not approved. And you're going to be able to see the history inside of Power Automate as well. So for example, if you've got 4 levels and it gets rejected at level 3, you can be able to look in the history of that flow to say where it was rejected and why and who it was rejected by and stuff like that. So I think that's going to help reduce some complexity of using flow for approvals moving forward, because flow, Power Automate is great for its flexibility, but it needed to be looking at stuff to understand what the levels and the stages were. If some of that functionality is now coming within, I'm not saying we'd have to deal with every problem, but coming within Power Automate and Cloud Flows itself, yeah, I think that's going to enable us inside of, with BC, as well as inside of CRM, on opportunities, on contracts, etc. I think it's going to enable approvals to be far more powerful using Power Automate now. Okay, important part of most business processes is some level of approvals. So that's good. So let's jump down to probably the initial Power App, which was Power BI. We've talked a little bit about what Microsoft added into the core product with some of the dashboards already we've looked at earlier. What have they done for Power BI? So there's lots. As with everything, you get the gist of. I'll pick one per area. Premium, what they're doing in Premium. So the analytics side of it. So it's not so much what the users see around premium and the fancy stuff that you can do around extra storage and all that kind of stuff. But the idea is that in premium, clearly you've got the ability to create bigger data sets, potentially more logic, or you want to put more logic into it because the license gives you the ability to do more. The reality is like any data set and model, the more you put into it, the more challenge it could be to maintain. How is performance going to work if you're trying to put kind of the whole kind of logic of cubes and stuff like that, and maybe use some of Power BI more. So what they're coming to give you is more analytics. So they're going to give you information on the data sets, the load of the engine, the query performance, the refresh rate behavior, and stuff like that. So when people are going, again, it's taking X amount of time to refresh, it's got this amount of data in it, etc. You can, as a Power BI consultant or someone that's like a business analyst, can go and look under the hood and say, well, actually, do we need to change this data set, and do we need to change this model to be more efficient? And how do we go and change it? And the analytics is going to point you in directions of maybe, hopefully, where you can go change and improve. So again, from a premium point of view, when you're getting more and more data inside of Power BI that you'll kind of churn through and calculate as such as well, is I think that's going to be a really important feature as more data gets inside of that environment. But that's right on the cusp of the end of Wave 2 and not planned to be released until March next year. Pro, and probably this is a bit more front end, so we know that when we're designing our reports and our dashboards, we're using Power BI Desktop. We're putting our sources together, we're doing it locally, and then we're going to go and put it in a service account that's going to run on a schedule that makes it available for multiple people to see. In terms of obviously a lot around Power BI and reporting is tables, data, relationships, how it all links together so you can visualize it in the right way and make it make sense. Power Query, they're bringing a diagram view into Power BI Desktop, which is allowing me to visualize my tables and my fields and links between in a very visual view of how to then go, I need to add another relationship. So you can build it out. As humans, a lot of us, and not all of us, a lot of us learn and understand things easier when it's visual opposed to lists of data. So this is again a visual view to try and help connect data points together to be able to build data sets and reports in an easier way. So I think for me personally, I'll probably find it easier to create Power BI reports with the Power Query diagram view that's coming.
Okay, well that makes complete sense. The idea of the visualization of it does become simpler because you can see the way of what you're trying to connect to and what you're trying to do. So yeah, that would make sense. Okay, and Power Pages is the one I think we're going to finish with here. What are Power Pages? If you can sum that up in 2 sentences, it's one I'm not very very aware of.
Who do you want to answer that question? Because everybody seems to, over the past few months, have had a differing opinion.
Well, you're the expert in front of the mic, so you tell me what you think.
Expert, is that my time to leave? Power Page. So we've had portals.
Yep.
Microsoft's history with CRM and portals and stuff like that. Portals obviously link into the Dataverse and CRM and stuff like that. So Power Portals, to an extent, the name is no more. Power Pages is the replacement. However, Power Pages is more than just portals. So the idea is Pages is also allowing you to design websites. So if you're going to go and use WordPress, for example, to go and do a basic collateral page without any real e-commerce, you could go and do it in Power Pages potentially instead. But for us, where do we see it? Where will we do more of it? It's still the portal side of it. So basically the portals are included in Pages as such. And the idea is you still got your templates of your customer service that we use for our support desk, etc. But from our point of view, what Power Pages is bringing to the table is better ways to design those websites, I guess is the best way of putting it, is the exciting way of putting it. So it's a bit more drag and drop, templates, colour, styling. So I'm not saying it's going to get rid of kind of development for kind of people use Liquid, people in terms of terminology. We talk about CSS, true kind of web development. It's not removing that, but for people that are low code, no code, or people that want to get something that is functional, for example, as a portal, but it's more about being functional. It's got to look okay, but you could be able to do more of your design elements yourselves than having to rely on a web developer to go and do a lot, pretty much majority of it.
It's giving you a good base, new foundation if you want to get something up and running quickly and easily, but not as smart or as flashy as some of the other stuff, but like you said, functional.
Absolutely. And there's a new studio designer coming, a new admin center. There's some updated templates. So for example, a new template that is coming as part of Power Pages is like an employee onboarding. So you've got a new starter, you've got employee onboarding, there's a Power Page as such. You can start that process and send it on and get them to, can you send me your national insurance number? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And send it an email. Send them on a Power Page with that template and get them all to fill it in. It come back to you and it's now sitting inside of your environment, so you can take that information and it's all in one place. So again, they've added a couple of templates, but for me, the big one or the big areas will be the updated admin centers, the design studio, and a few of the information to make it kind of the aesthetics, make it easier to make it look better, quicker, opposed to relying on developers and stuff like that. It's not removing the need for developers, but it's making it easier as such. We do a lot of portals, but we don't have an abundance of web developers sitting there waiting to create really pretty stuff, I guess is the best way of putting it. So, but I think Power Pages as a whole, it's exciting. I think the reality is that I think a lot of Power Pages and the concept of the new designers and the updates and stuff like that about how easy it's going to be has been born out of the kind of Dynamics 365 commerce idea, where it's a website with commerce and it's kind of, you can design it yourself and you've got templates and different colours and it's easier from that perspective. I think Power Pages has nicked, or Microsoft have purposely chosen, that it uses a lot of that type of concept around it as well. So I think for me, there's a lot of general availability that's stating end of year and into next year with this. So I think Portals is clearly still available right now and we can still implement Portals. Yeah. But some of the newer functionality, I think we're still in the very early days, I guess is the best way of putting it. So don't expect too much too quickly by the end of this year is my, I don't want to sound cynical, but my honest way of putting it.
Okay. But it's giving us, we know what's coming down the track now at least. And
yeah,
that's the way it's going.
And I think for our team, we think this is a great step forward, because ADX Studio was hard work. Power Portals were a little less hard work, but still hard work from a design point of view. If this Power Pages makes it easier, it won't be perfect, let's be realistic, but if it's a step in the right direction, then clearly it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, for those people that are very old like me, Microsoft used to have something called Front Page back in about 98, 99 in the early noughties.
I do remember that.
Which was a great way to get a very basic website.
Yeah, you're bringing out Clippy there as well,
well, it probably could have been before Clippy, but we are going back in the... but it was a good little product, so it's good to see them coming back to looking at some web design stuff and making it a bit easier for us to get up and running. Okay, Jace, thank you. I think that's a good overview of what we're doing. I guess it's easy to talk about these things. I'm assuming that when we get round to when this is coming out in the autumn, it probably coincides roughly when our user day is. Yep. So I know we've got quite a big presence for our customers at our user day this year around, I'll call it CRM and the Power Platform. So I'm sure some of this stuff will be showcased if it's out and available to us.
That's the plan.
That'll be good if people want to look at it in more detail. And of course, they can always contact you and the team if they need more information.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The way these waves come round, it's crazy. It won't be long before we're back here again in the spring doing wave 123. They just come out quickly. So, but thanks for educating myself definitely, and anyone who's listening. Always good to have your company on the podcast.
Cool, no worries at all. Thank you.
Thank you.